Kupo Mughals, it's the Schwantz27 here, and it's time for the last recap of the Kefka Grand Prix Deluxe event, with us crowning a champion and handing out the Revenger ribbon. The flag set is the same as last week, the ever-challenging Havoc ring, with Shock Sabin cosplaying as Leo, an auto-condemned permadeath start, and Fallen 1 happening throughout your seed, a nice chunk of starting change, but GP being really hard to come by afterwards, sequence breaking being allowed with YMPC set to X-Zone Vanish, and the Warring Triad statues shuffled amongst their positions in Kefka's Tower. Let's first check out the Fallen Run seed, who started with Lock again like last week, but this time with Health. The Narsh Weapon Shop gave a choice between 2 relics, an Offering or Experience Egg, with the latter being extremely helpful at the beginning of the seed, and an unfortunate Max Battle 13 Curse Shield. However, with both a Peace Ring and Ribbon in the World of Ruin South Figaro, it would make it not nearly as bad to uncurse it. Imperial Camp, unfortunately, had multiple presenter fights, which caused our runners to get not as much XP as anticipated, even with the experiencing boosting relic. Peaking the caboose of Phantom Trains showed a Sword Tech Terra, so we were able to grab the other item that we didn't choose earlier, and had appropriate ghost mobs as affix encounters to make up for that deficit from the other check. Following her checks over to Welk to grab the other item in the mines behind it also gave us Jump Cyan, who could use a Pearl Lance that we picked up along the way, and most importantly allowed us to max out Terra's ability. A trip on the Leet River was next to uncurse the shield, although there were yucky level magic fights on the way, and a Valiant Knife in a chest in the Returner's hideout paired really well with our Offering for Lock, so all of a sudden we had several endgame builds on our characters. An apt Piranha's fight at the end gave us Capture Setzer. Going over the next nearest spot had Stray at Doma Siege, and heading to Barren Falls to remedy the effect of Fallen 1 granted a Force Shield. Swapping worlds to Doma Dream was next on the menu for 3 Espers, Ramu, Carbuncle, and Kieran, but more importantly, 8 Sword Techs for Terra, and a Life 3 spell on one of them, which is clutch in a Permadeath seed. Our 6th character, Gogo, was at Collapsing House, and the Ice Dragon gave us exactly what we needed for Cyan's spell with a Dragon Horn prior to another Esper Tritok at Mount Zozo. Ragnarok, the Esper, was hanging out drinking in the Colin Jin Inn, and just next door at Daryl's Tomb was Vanilla Dance Mog for our 7th character. This meant we could do the full World of Balance Narsh loop, including the required for Kefka Tower skip, check Kefka at Narsh. Lone Wolf was Shote, Ultros 2 was guarding Maduin at the Narsh battle, and finishing up the entire section had another Dragon Horn at Moogle Defense, which was unfortunate that we already had one for our jump build. Search the Skies also came up empty for a Snow Muffler, and the dead checks continue with an EXP egg at Zenith for about 11,000, which would have been nice about an hour before Bubbaski nabbed it here. With 11 bosses, going to the Sealed Gate Cave made sense for doing a full Kefka Tower double play, but the item rewards kept going with Minerva at the end, and yet another one, DJ Khaled, at Terra's Mobliz check. This meant finally having to succumb to a non-peekable fast check with South Figaro Cave to give Bismarck for go mode. Going the full clear through the middle had 3 tough bosses with Tritok, then Funbaba, before Poltergeist. Doom and Goddess didn't move from their original spots in this seed either, and with Cleave, Leo naturally learning Mute, along with Life 3 on an Esper, meant the Kefka fight was all about how lucky we got with our non-targetable offense of Sword Tech 7, Offering Valiant Knife, and Jump Horn with Pearl Lance. We could have used an Aura Lance, Boots, and Horn on Mog, if not for the good spells that Leo learned with Natural Magic, but the other 3 carried the party damage, allowing Bubbaski to take home the Revenger ribbon with a 1:35.06, nearly 6.5 minutes ahead of the second place Nani Gray's 1:41.32, who lost 60 seconds from Shadow Sid, who also got Stupid Sexy Flanders at 1:42.35, but it wasn't enough for him to have a placement change with 1:43.22. The Championship Cup seed also had a natural jump user with Celeste to pair with Leo, so it was a former Imperial General duo for us. The Narsh Weapon Shop had a Bismarck or Ice Shield choice, and the Curse Shield was also the maximum 13 battles. Another early Valiant Knife was looted in South Figaro to go with a Thunder Shield from the South Figaro prisoner spot, along with a Dragon Horn for Celeste in a Relic shop that had us off to a good start with our builds. Zenith was selling a 10,000 GP Siren Esper and was off to Imperial Camp in order to get some levels, but the unfortunate enemy mob struck again in this seed, where the Enuo Goblin Figolets fight necessitated using using one of the rods you had picked up along with cracking that thunder shield to get through if you wanted to finish it early in the game without running away or wiping. The reward was just fixed dice for Celeste to use with her build, and the monster in a box was Katana Soul, who dropped that delicious offering for our Valiant Knife user Leo. Heading to Barren Falls, Secure, our Fallen One, had Ifrit at the bottom. After learning Fire 3 from an early Esper, Umaro and Dataluma weren't problems in the Magitech factory for Tritok and Atma Weapon, but it was the end of the minecart ride where things took a turn as Magi Master was the gate from going forward. Had you gotten one of the Espers with Berserk on it earlier on, this fight wasn't an issue, but we had to rely on fixed dice jumping or Valiant Knife offering to pull us through that tough one, but the reward was thankfully Calmness Protection in Golem on the other side. Had you gone through the other Sabin checks first, you wouldn't have found another character either, so it was up to our runners to get the third from Celeste's other check, the Opera House Disruption, where the enemy encounters were either pugs or a Madam Outsider mob that necessitated good ATB luck and being quick to get to the item menu to get to your warp stones or smoke bombs before weapons started flying in your general direction. If you put your dance moves to the test in the rafters, you'd be rewarded with Blitz Setzer doing his vanilla rescue spot. Then going to the Kulingin further opened up the seed with Steel Edgar. Search the Skies handed out an experience egg to pump up our Blitz user or one of our other physical builds. Collapsing House had Kirin, which is where the Berserk spell came from for the Magi Master fight. Sticking in the World of Ruin, it was time for Edgar's loop of checks where Gogo was leading the Band of Thieves into the engine room, a Snow Muffler was heir to the Figaro throne, and Drinksglue decided to bail on Ancient Castle where the best Esper in a permanent seed Phoenix could be found. Flying the airship to the northwesternmost part of the World of Ruin and Daryl's Tomb had Palador as the reward. Running out of places to find our next character, instead, Narsh Battle, Mount Cult, and Phantom Train were all Espers, so Zone Eater was the second to last location for Drinksglue, who ended up finding Dance Terra. Peaking Mobliz wasn't helpful, and Sealed Gate Cave finally had Seraphim for a last Esper. However, Terra's other three checks were all characters, with Umaro behind Welk, Mog behind Zozo Tower, and Realm on the Leet River. This meant that if you were to sequence break into Edgar's checks, you could have avoided doing the disaster that was the Opera House in the seed for enough characters, but hindsight is 20/20, as they say. Doom at the Poltergeist spot caused some annoyance with N-Cross, which meant that Goddess and Poltergeist were the other two bosses on the sides for a potential single character for those that didn't do the full walk plus skip. However, with a potential Atma Weapon, Valiant Knife, or fixed dice user that could use the offering or Boots and Horn being shuffled around along with a Bum Rush and Mimic meant we had lots of outgoing defense ignoring damage for those beefy statues. Access to both Golem and Fenrir on the critical path along with Siren and Doom gave us a much easier back half of the seed than the beginning, which was good that the finals had a very difficult seed for our runners to overcome on the track. Both Drinksglue and Golden Shocker left the rest of the top 8 in the dust with times under the 1 hour 40-minute mark from Boo the Runner in third place, but Drinksglue's cast of Quick let him cement his victory with an adjusted time of 1:20.35 over Golden Shocker's 1:26.41, and he didn't need the 5-minute reduction, but without casting it, Double Down's Bolt 3 spell would have made it only a 6-second difference in his favor. Congratulations to Drinksglue on getting the special role in the Discord with the checkered flag for a KGP DX champion. That was such a cool event, and I hope you enjoyed all of the racing action as I've enjoyed rounding up the results each week. That's going to do it for me. I've been Dosh27. Until next time.